Hello, my friend, and welcome to a solo episode of She Sells Radio. I am excited to come to you today. I really have been leaning into the needs and the desires of this community, and I want to share something with you today that I trust and hope and think will be of help, which is what really matters and what doesn't if you are a coach, consultant, a service provider who is looking to break through six figures and beyond this year. And I'll share a personal story. I'll also share um, I'll share just behind the scenes some of what's been going on here as we go. But this is fun. I get to come to you today solo. It's you, it's me, it's my Starbucks. We are hanging out, and it's really my heart to pour into you with this information. So, one thing that I want to ask before we even get into the topic and the story that I want to share with you to kick off today is I want to ask you as a listener of this podcast for some feedback. And you can literally email my team. I'll give you my information shortly to do that, or you can DM me. But I have been I've been in the energy of and thinking about what could I do to make this the most helpful, the most intentional sales business mindset podcast for you out there. And so something that I've been playing with is in every episode, would it be helpful to give a sales tip? So obviously those are woven all throughout the episodes here, but almost like a sales tip of the week type of thing. So I'm just really playing with that. I'm actually one of my visions and something that I'm looking to manifest through the show is just the largest, most impactful distribution we can generate with the show. And I'll even just share with you from my heart, because we're all looking to create our next level, right? For me, I'm really leaning into the energy of what would it be like to have a syndicated show? What would it be like to have, I mean, we're global top 2% right now with the show, which is beautiful, but how can I continue to elevate that? How can I continue to grow and serve on an even bigger scale to create more impact with this? And the podcast is something that I absolutely love. So I've just been playing with that impression of increase energy too. Like, how can I just pour even more for you into this? And would you love in every episode to have some sort of a sales tip that may not be related to the actual theme of the episode, but it's something of value? So send me an email, elise@elisearcher.com. Let me know if there's anything else that you'd love to have in the show. I'd love your feedback as well. You can also DM me. I'm at Elise Archer on all social. But with that being said, those are some areas I'd love some feedback from you. Today, what we're going to talk about is what actually matters and what doesn't when it comes to, again, you breaking that six-figure mark as a coach, a consultant, a service provider. You can apply this as a sales professional as well. What I will say inspired this was I've seen so many women coming into the community, and now I see this a lot in our 10K club too. Like, women come in and they're like, okay, I'm going to grow and scale this thing. And this is certainly not every woman, but it's a lot of the women enough that I noticed, where women come in and they maybe think they're going down one path, or maybe they've already started down the coaching consulting path. But either way, they get inspired and they're like, I want to become a coach. I want to become a consultant. So, complete and total side note that I wasn't even planning on sharing, but I'll share really quick because it's on my heart as I say this out loud. We're going to be launching our first ever coach consultant certification this fall. If you're interested, send me an email. Again, elise@elisearcher.com. We're going to be taking a very small group of individuals through that training. It's a 6-month certification program. So, total side note, we're going to start those conversations in June. So, I've seen women coming in and wanting to launch something new, build something new, and then feeling completely confused, understandably, by all of the different aspects that they think need to be in place to be successful, and getting kind of stuck and stymied by thinking they need to build out a really robust funnel or a really robust website, or spending a ton of money on branding and design up front, like all these different things that in reality, will you probably want to do something like that at some point? Yeah, most likely. But is it necessary and critical for you at the beginning? Absolutely not. And I'll share today too the story of like my first six-figure month and what was in place and what wasn't in place. Now, we're talking here probably for most people about how to break six figures this year, but you can play with it. If it gets you more excited to think about breaking six figures in a month, lean into that. If it gets you more excited to think about six figures in a day, lean into that, right? But the theme here is what actually matters and what doesn't. So I hosted a masterclass a couple of weeks ago called Cracking the Code. Some of you joined me for that, and I spoke a bit about this, but I want to kind of share with greater reflection here today, and even just more of a relaxed energy as it's just me and you chatting. What do I wish I knew earlier on about cracking that code, breaking the six-figure mark as a coach, consultant, service provider? Things where I would have saved a lot of time and money. Although I think that's always learning and lessons. And I don't think anything's ever really wasted. I think we can always learn and grow, even if we make an investment that we later say, might have done that differently. I've done plenty of those as well, and that's fine, right? But I want to share this with you. And I'll share too, as we get into it, part of why my heart is so on this is helping you create the time freedom where you're not wasting time just sitting behind a computer, trying to figure it out, doing all these things, feeling like you're stuck and spinning, when that time could be spent on things that actually matter in your life, whether that's time with your babies, whether that's time with family, time just living life, going to the beach, being by the ocean, doing something of significance, creating something, right? I think when we don't have that clarity on what matters and what doesn't, we feel frustrated, right? Because we feel like we're stuck in spinning so often. And I shared this in the masterclass a couple weeks ago, but I'll share this here too. I had an experience maybe 3-ish weeks ago now, I want to say. And it felt like it was one of those experiences where I was like, I want to give this to as many women as possible, and men, right? I want to give it to all of us. And it was like a Thursday afternoon. I was getting ready the next morning to fly out to go speak at one of my friends and clients' masterminds. And I was home. My babies were home. My husband was home. He was off from school that afternoon. He's in medical school. If you're not familiar with me or kind of with our family or background, that's so he was off that afternoon, and it was finally a warm afternoon here in Portland, Maine. Those have been long in coming. Finally feeling a little bit like spring. Our windows were open. Our son, Jack, was outside playing with his best friend who lives a couple houses down from us. They were in the backyard. My husband and our neighbor, the dad of our, this is sounding confusing, and my son's best friend's dad. There you go. They were outside in the backyard too. And again, windows were open. We had Disney songs blaring from the TV, and I could hear laughter outside. I heard that like shrieking, the sounds of these cute little 3-year-olds just having the best, like the time of their life. I was inside, I was folding my laundry, getting ready for the trip. Luke, our 1-year-old, was like crawling around and grinning at me from the train table in the playroom. And it was like a Thursday at 2 o'clock. Um, and it just struck me how lucky I was and how grateful I felt to be able to be there, be present with my kids, have an experience like that on a Thursday afternoon when I knew that so many parents were either stuck working in a job that they don't necessarily love, that doesn't light them up, but it's what pays the bills and provides for the family. And, like a 9 to 5 schedule hasn't even been in my consciousness for a long time now, but it used to be. And sometimes I think back to it, I'm like, oh, it feels so like limiting and so restrictive. But I thought about how many parents are away from their kids right now, who would like kill to be able to be home with them at 2 o'clock on a Thursday afternoon. Or conversely, maybe you're an entrepreneur and you're either in the launch stage, the liftoff stage, you're launching something new. And again, you would love to be able to have the peace of mind to be present, to relax, to be with your kids in the afternoon, or to be doing something else that you'd love to do in the afternoon, right? You don't have to be a parent for this to be something that resonates, but you feel like you have to work and grind so hard to try to make the money for the family with your business. And so you're maybe stuck behind a computer screen doing things that you don't feel like are really moving the needle for you, but you feel like you need to do them, trying everything, like building every funnel, trying this with your messaging, that with your messaging, this with your sales strategy, that with your marketing strategy, and just feeling like you're spinning and investing so much time and money potentially into building and launching what you're doing, but not but again, not feeling like you're there and feeling like, again, you're just having to like be stuck behind a computer when in reality, you would love to get this thing figured out so that you could go spend time with your family, being present with the people who matter in your life and actually enjoy what you launched this whole thing to do in the first place, which was create more time and financial freedom for you as well. And for me, kind of going back to that scene, it was right in that moment. I was feeling this gratitude. And then I got a notification that like a $1,400-$1,500 payment had just been deposited in my account from a client. And I mean, is that like life-changing money? Not for most of us. But there was a point in time in my life where I could not imagine receiving money without actively working for it. Like I could not fathom that I could be taking a Thursday afternoon off, folding laundry, being with my little ones, hearing, like having fun, being present with my family, and that I could receive money in that moment. And again, I felt so much gratitude to be at this point in my life and career where I can experience that, because I used to not know what that was like. And I used to feel so, frankly, I would feel envious. I'd feel jealous of other people who would talk about this. But my consciousness just wasn't there yet. And so it's been a journey and it's been an evolution. But to feel like this is now normal, whereas before there would have been so much guilt and shame and shoulds and all sorts of kind of old rules and conditioning about how long it took to be successful and what it took to be successful. And I was just like, I want to help as many women, men, whoever, break free from the stuckness, the spinning that's keeping you away from what really matters in life, the trying to figure it out, so that you can really lean in and create the life, the business that works for you, so that you are not a slave to it, but instead it is working for you, supporting your lifestyle, your family, your goals, your ambitions, your dreams. And if you're, if you're in sales and corporate sales and you're listening to this, this applies to you too. Because again, I think back to when I was in corporate sales, there were so many rules in my mind about how long I had to work to make a certain amount of money, how hard it had to be. And so that was what I experienced, because that was, again, my level of consciousness and something that it was really challenging to embrace at first. But it's gotten more and more ingrained in my consciousness, is the law of least action / this concept of efficacy. And the way that I talk about it is efficacy over effort. So what is efficacy? It's how effective are the actions that we're taking, right? And I used to be so caught up on the effort standpoint, where I would feel like if I'm not efforting and working really hard all the time and grinding, then I'm not worthy of success. I'm going to be left out. I'm not competitive enough. I'm slacking. But when I was in that consciousness, I wasn't growing. I wasn't expanding. I was staying stuck. It was a constant grind. And so now what I've learned to really look at is, what is the most direct path to where we want to go? What's the most streamlined approach? What is the most elegant solution to any challenges that we encounter? And we'll find that often there's something that is completely outside the realm of the effort paradigm and is a far more, again, creative, direct, elegant solution to accomplishing the goal if we can just get out of those cobwebs of shoulds, of this should take a long time, this should be really hard. And again, I had that experience the other day and I was like, I was blinded by the shoulds for so many years. And I became a parent, a mom. I mean, it's all relative, but maybe a little later in life, right? Like I had my first kid when I was 34. And I just think about, I think there was no doubt divine purpose behind that timing. Did I want to have kids sooner? Yeah. But if I had, and it would have all been perfect if it had happened sooner too. I know that. For me, looking back on when I became a mom, I can say I am so grateful that I had this level of consciousness, or it was developing within me as my kids were born. And then as I'm raising them now, because I would have been a basket case. I would have been a basket case. I wouldn't have been present for my kids. I would have been um, in a ton of guilt. I wouldn't have been able to enjoy raising them. And again, there is no judgment, shame, guilt, any of that. If you're like, I am a basket case, I feel like that. And I'm trying to raise kids right now, right? I think our kids choose to come to us at whatever point we're at in our consciousness, because it's going to help them evolve. So there's no right or wrong here. And there's no guilt intended by me sharing that. I'm just sharing to be able to be present and be relaxed and have trust and flow in what my business is doing for me while I'm working or not has been profound. So, and I want to give that to as many people as possible as well. And I want to give you some of that today too. So let's talk about it. Let's get into it. And again, I'm going to share with you just some, not all, because I want to, really honor everyone who comes to our live events, and we give a lot more in our live events on this. So I'm not going to share with you everything I shared in the Cracking the Code event recently, but I want to share with you just at a high level um, what matters and what doesn't when you're building and scaling either your company or your sales so that you can get there more quickly, more elegantly, and enjoy your life along the way. And one thing I want to say, so we're going to be talking strategy today. I teach something called the 4 quadrants of quantum sales growth, which is when I look back on my career and look at how in the world did I get from being stuck for over a decade at the same level, spinning, no matter how hard I worked, I'd always get the same results, to within 6 weeks of applying what I now teach our clients, being able to 10x, to turn my annual income into my monthly income. And it wasn't by working harder. I reverse engineered it. We call it the 4 quadrants of quantum sales growth. It's not what we're going to talk about today, but we're going to talk about a piece of that. If you want to get the full picture of what that is and what that looks like, you can we just built out a new free training around this. You can go to elisearcher.com/4 quadrants and grab that, and that'll take a much deeper dive. Most of the quadrants are about the inner work, about the mindset rewiring, rewiring belief systems, money, wealth consciousness, alignment, integrating the duality of masculine and feminine energy in your business or your sales process. So that is, I will say, 95 to 98%, according to neuroscience, of what creates your results in your life. The other 2 to 5% is strategy, which we call method. The 4 quadrants are 4 M's. The fourth quadrant we teach is method, which is the strategy. And that's what we're talking about today. Now, one thing I want to say with strategy is that anyone who tells you that there's only one strategy that's going to work to get you to your goals, not telling you the truth. What is true about strategy is any strategy, virtually any strategy, can work. It's about your belief system in the strategy, and it's about how aligned it is to where you want to go. Okay. And how you're wired as well. This is why 2 people can build out a virtually identical funnel to drive leads into their business. One person flourishes, prospers, excels, and the other person is left saying, what in the world did I do wrong? That was bone dry. Well, they have 2 very different, most likely prosperity consciousnesses, 2 different self concepts, different wiring. So all of that to say, the strategy piece is important. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you there's only one way to do it, because that wouldn't be honest to say. There's lots of strategies that can work. It's about what's aligned for you. Now, when I taught this class a couple of weeks ago, I shared the story of my first 100K month to share with people what I had and what I didn't. So you can see you can be so scrappy when you are massively elevating. And it does not need to take, it can, but it does not need to take a huge investment of time, resources, fancy stuff to be able to start making the money you really want to make in your business. So, what did I do? Again, before this, I'd been stuck at 10K months for over a decade. And I finally was like, I'm done playing small. And the whole why behind that is a long story too, that we don't have time for today. But there were some things going on in my life where I was like, I'm done playing small. I'm ready. I'm ready to do this. And so for me, and I'm going to share numbers here just for context, but you can apply this. Maybe you've been stuck at 2K or 5K, or maybe you're in sales and you want to launch your own business and you haven't made any money in your business yet. And anything would be a quantum leap. 10K months would be a quantum leap, right? Maybe you're already making several $100,000 or $1 million or whatever in your corporate role, but you're like, hey, if I could make that kind of money over here doing my own thing, that would be awesome, right? So think about whatever your quantum leap would be right now, apply that to this conversation. For me, it was, I wanted to bring in far more abundance for our family. I wanted to play at a much larger level on the world stage in terms of brand and impact. I wanted to live out my fullness, my greatness. And so for me, financially, the level I was looking to get to was 7 figures in sales, or 100K months, give or take, right? Because that was, to me, that was a huge quantum leap. So it had not been hard for me to get to 10K months previously. And the reason why, which I wasn't aware of, was I was programmed to make 10K a month, which we'll talk about that a little bit later in today's podcast as well. We all have a financial set point and a level at which we are comfortable receiving. So I was programmed to make about 10K a month. So I did that for about a decade. I wanted to break through. I decided to break through. I decided to go to the next level. And again, in 6 weeks of doing that and implementing what we teach our clients now, I was able to 10X. But that first 100K month, I want to share with you from a strategy standpoint. What did I do? Because a lot of times it's easy to hear that story and be like, oh, she vibrated higher. Well, I did significantly. I did. I was willing to do things that got me massively uncomfortable. I invested, $50,000 I didn't have in coaching. I was willing to look at every limiting belief I had ever had about who I was, what I was capable of, and I was willing to go down the dark abyss of examining and rewiring limiting beliefs in a really intense way. So that's where I was energetically. And did those things help me vibrate higher? Hell yeah. Yes, absolutely. That was the biggest piece of it. And there was action involved as well. So I decided to launch a group program, which from idea to conception was about 4 weeks. And that was what we now have as our 10K club, which is our signature program. And we've had, I should know the number off the top. There's no shoulds. There's quite a few women around the world who have been through that program. Several hundred, I believe, at this point, who have been through it, if my off the top of my head math is correct. But I decided to launch that. And what did I have when I was launching? I had a huge heart to help other women succeed. I wanted to help other women break 6 figures and beyond. I knew I could do that because I'd done it myself quite a bit. I had a high drive to be successful. What else did I have? Massive limiting beliefs. I had huge limiting beliefs about whether a whole group of women would want to work with me. I had massive injured feminine instinct, unhealthy female relationship dynamics, all sorts of stuff. So that was very scary for me to say, I'm going to launch a group program serving women. But my coach and mentor was pushing me. She was like, no, go do it. Get out of your comfort zone, do it. So just know, if you are wanting to launch something new and you're experiencing massive limiting beliefs about it, you're on the right track. You're on the right track. That's a sign, because contrast always lives at the edge of your next level. So if we think, oh, it's only aligned if I feel comfortable, and it's only aligned if it feels like ease. No, if it feels comfortable and like ease, then you're just going to keep getting more of what you've already got. All right. So there's nothing wrong if you're moving towards something and taking action and you're having limiting beliefs or negative emotions come up. It just means that there's an edge, there's a growth edge for you that you get to expand beyond. All right. That's all it means. What else did I have? A very small audience. A very small audience of my natural network, some past clients from other programs, and I had a mentor. Okay. What did I not have? I didn't have existing clients in the program. I didn't have a fancy web page for the program. I didn't have a large audience that I could market to. I didn't have past testimonials that I could pull from. Didn't have a complex marketing strategy. Didn't have a big team. All right. That was it. None of that. So I share all of that to say that you do not need to get stymied. And you can look at someone who's running a million, multi-million dollar, billion-dollar business in your industry and see all the things they've built out and see all the funnels and see all the complexity, see the team and say, oh crap, I have to do that to be successful. Absolutely not. Are there inflection points in your business where it's going to require you to adjust the strategy to be able to scale beyond the level you're at right now? Absolutely. But do not compare what you're looking to do with someone where someone else is when they're at a totally different level in their growth journey and maturity. Again, I'm speaking to you today. If you're in the earlier stages of launching something, or you've been trying to do it for a while and you're stuck and you want to go to another level. All right. And again, you can feel like, man, I've been successful and I want to go to another level, or you can feel like this thing hasn't clicked and I'm ready to throw in the towel unless I can give it one more shot and I want to go to another level. Okay. But so we're talking scrappy here. We're not talking scaling from 7 to 8 figures. That's a totally different conversation. All right. Although I would still propose the elegant solution there. But what did I do? I decided to host a webinar using what I had. Using what I had, natural network, DMs, emails, texts. It was paid. I charged $85 for it. It was a 2-hour webinar. And I did DM outreach to women who I thought I could serve in the group program, inviting them. I made the charge a money back guarantee for the webinar. So it was an easier yes for people. So if you're launching something and you're wanting to, maybe you're wanting to do like a paid lead magnet or a paid conversion event, rule of thumb, again, there's no one set way to do it, but in general, you would probably charge less than $100 for it. You might make it money back guarantee so that there's no risk. So if someone comes in and they don't get what they were wanting out of it, it's like, no big deal. I'll give you your money back, right? Not a big deal on that. So I made it that. And I just started DMing women who I thought could benefit. We had, I think, just a little over 20 women show up to that first webinar. I'd never done one like it. I did not follow the perfect webinar formula. Now, again, you could go and research and invest a lot of money on strategically, how do you host a high converting webinar? And would there be a lot of value in that? Very possibly. Is it a requirement for running a successful webinar? No. And I'm about to demonstrate to you why with the results that came through. I'm just drinking my Starbucks while I chat with you. So I created them. I will tell you, this was probably the most technically imperfect training I've ever given. But it was speaking from the heart. It was speaking from the heart. And I shared how I think back to it because it was just a little over 3 years ago now. It wasn't even that long ago. But I think back to the energy I was in at that time. And it was like I had finally broken through energetically from feeling like I had to play small or hold back or be in this limited box that I'd existed in for so long. And I was like, I'm going for it. I'd already invested 50 grand in coaching that I didn't have. I'd already said yes. And I had no idea how it was all going to come together. I just knew I was going to give everything I had my all. That was it. So I spoke from the heart. That energy, I think, called other people up in their lives and resonated with them. So even though it was not a technically by the book webinar about say this thing at that time and have these slides. It was from the heart. I had, I think, just like 2, 3 slides, not a lot, outlining the program because again, it didn't exist yet. I don't think I had a sales page for the program yet either. I don't believe. I had a PayPal checkout button. I remember the day of the webinar, I was so nervous. I was sweating. I was having nightmares the night before about embarrassing myself in front of all these people. When I gave it, I felt like I was having an out-of-body experience because I never spoken so directly and so just heartfelt to a group of people who were listening to hear what I had to say. And the offer that I made it was all things that I was going to be creating live with these women as we went together. I didn't know if anyone was going to buy, but I offered a 90-day coaching program. There was no pre-recorded course, just weekly live calls with me and a group Marco Polo chat. I was going to record all the video trainings, which I did. And at that time, I didn't have a learning management system. We used Google Drive. So we just uploaded them to a Google Drive folder, said, hey, here's where you can get access. And I gave it my all. And out of those numbers, 12 out of 20 converted into this program. I had my first $100,000 cash collected month. And that is what propelled She Sells into what it is today. So I want you to hear some of the themes from that as you think about what actually matters and what doesn't. If you were looking to really have a breakthrough in your business or in your sales, what are the themes? Do it before you're ready, right? Do it before you're ready. I was definitely not ready. I didn't have a sales page. I didn't have a course already built out. Didn't have any of that, but I had enough. I had a minimum viable product. I had something I was like, I know I can do this. I know I can coach women on this, and I'm going to build it as we go together. That's what I had. What are some other themes? Move past the limiting beliefs and take action anyway. This is part of why the inner work is so powerful and part of why it's so important to recognize when we're thinking a limiting belief about ourselves, and we can recognize that because we feel a negative emotion in our bodies. I didn't know that before I got into this work, but we want to be able to process that and move out of that mindset so that we can move forward powerfully with our vision, but not letting the limiting beliefs stop you. Like I said, I had massive limiting beliefs about who I was, who would follow me, holding space and energy for a whole group of women. I do it all day long now, and I love it. I absolutely adore it, and I'm grateful for it. Back then, I didn't know if I could. So that was a limiting belief. And it was like, get going, take action, right? So those were some of the themes. Something else that I'll share too, because I have women come into the community and say, oh, I've already invested such and such on coaching, or I've just invested in this funnel or that funnel or that or this, and it hasn't paid off yet. Guess what? Guess what, my friend? Number one, that is a limiting belief that there's not more money. Okay. So if you're in that energy of, oh, I can't take action on something that really speaks to me because I've already tried this or that and they didn't work. Well, number one, if something has quote unquote hasn't worked, either it hasn't played all the way out yet, you haven't seen the end result, or you were meant to get something from it that's not what you initially thought. Okay. It's not what you initially thought, but it's going to grow and develop you into who you need to be so that you can have what you want. I invested between 50 and 60 grand a while back in a program that was not ultimately what I thought would happen with it. But the woman who I became in the process of going through that equipped and empowered me to be the woman who can now have and hold energy at the level that I desire to in my life. So it wasn't the intended result when I was investing in it. And there were, anyway, I'm just saying, I say all of that to say it wasn't the intended result. And I still said, what's the blessing? I still said, what am I supposed to get out of this? I still said, what's the fruit that I can take from this? So if you're in that mindset right now, I've tried these other things and they haven't worked. Well, and I'm not moving forward on my dreams because of this. Well, you're staying stuck in victim energy, my friend. So just a level of consciousness around that. So going into kind of tying it back in with the story, I had tried a bunch of other things before this that either didn't work or that gave mediocre results. And again, a lot of times it was I was trying to do things that I saw other people do. I remember I had invested, it's not a ton of money, but at the time it felt like it. This was several years before I had this breakthrough, or maybe the year before I'd invested like 5, 10 grand in building out a funnel for something. And then the company like literally ghosted towards the end of it being built. And I look back and it's like, great. At the time it kind of sucked, but now I can look at that and say, well, that wasn't what was meant to happen. And if it was, I would have taken it and run with it. But it was not, I was selling something that wasn't like the full essence of who I am. And I was trying to make it so, again, technically perfect. And this piece goes here and this piece goes here. It wasn't from the heart. I'll say that. It wasn't from the heart. So it's all learning. All right. It's all learning. But I say all of that to say that I don't care how many things you've already invested in. I don't care what you've tried. If you're going to give your power away and say, well, so and so did me wrong with this, or I didn't get what I thought I was going to get out of this program, or maybe it's not meant to be because I've tried all these other things and it hasn't happened. You're just if that end result, if that desire is still a calling on your heart, it's all breadcrumbs. It's all leading you to where you want to go, but you have to keep showing up and following the intuitive nudges and taking the action towards what you want. Trusting and knowing that you're being guided every step of the way. So with all of that, I shared this on the training a couple weeks ago. There's a lot of things in life that I'm really not good at. And I own that and I'm completely okay with it. Like if you want to lose a trivia game, invite me to play on your team and you'll lose. Probably, I don't know. Maybe you're really good and you'll help lift us up. I probably will not help your score. We'll put it that way. If you want to have a terrible time at a sports game because you're with someone who has no idea what's going on, bring me along. Although I kind of enjoy sports games now a lot more than I used to, but I just want to be in the energy of it. I won't know what's going on most likely, but I'll enjoy being in the energy of it with you. But if you're looking for someone to talk shop with, nope, not your girl. These are just not my gifts, and I'm okay with that. One of my gifts is cutting through the fluff to see what actually matters and what doesn't for you to get to your goal as quickly and effortlessly as possible. Now, I say that saying that, do you get to become a different person to have the goal accomplished? Absolutely. So that becoming, that unfolding, that like caterpillar turning into the butterfly can feel painful, uncomfortable. I'm not saying we get to skip that part of the process because that's the unfoldment. But what I am saying is that there can be a lot of wasted time and energy and effort doing things that are kind of like a shot in the dark versus taking aligned, guided action that's going to get us on a more direct path to where we want to go. And that's really what my heart is to help you do. So that you're not wasting time that, again, could be spent with your babies, with your family, living life, doing your spiritual practice, like any of that, wasting time that could be spent on those things that really matter for you, just trying to figure it out. So let's talk about a little bit of what doesn't and what does matter. Like, what do you need and what do you not need if you are wanting to break through that next income level for you this year in your sales or in your business. Okay. So what do you need? Well, you need a heart, you need a mission to serve, right? That piece is self-evident. You need drive and ambition. Now, I think drive and ambition are wonderful. I think when they are fueled towards self aggrandizing desires, that's when we can kind of get it twisted. But I'm a driven woman. I'm an ambitious woman. I want to get the most out of my life. And I leverage and what do I say? I leverage and guide those energies in anything that I'm doing to help create the greatest result that I can from it. So you need that, right? If you want to go to the next level. What do you need? Clarity on some simple things, basics, right? What are your services and packages going to look like? Again, think MVP, minimum viable product. It doesn't need to be fancy. If you're a coach, a consultant, launching a coaching program, you don't necessarily need to have a bunch of pre-recorded modules unless it's like really a core piece that you feel guided to create. More often than not, you can record those as you go with your people. You need to know who your ideal client is. So we want to be clear on who that person is, or who those couple core avatars are, those core ideal clients are, and what the right messaging is for them. What else do you need? You want some sort of expert positioning and credibility. Why you, right? Now, again, we can get caught up in, oh no, I'm going to need another certification. I'm going to need this. I'm going to need that. You are, I can tell you right now, if you are feeling called to help someone with something, then there are people out there who are farther behind on that journey than you are, who you can help them. And it's all about, oftentimes it does take someone else being able to look at where you are, your accomplishments, your experiences, and see through a different lens to be able to position your credibility, and to position you as a leader. So again, we do this to help other people, just in that purchasing decision, right? See, we want, well, how do I say this? They will see themselves mirrored in you and your accomplishments and achievements. So oftentimes we can hold back or say, oh, I'm not really that accomplished. I'm not really that successful in this, or, oh, it's going to come off like I'm bragging. No, you need to shine your light so other people can see what type of energy you're in, and who you are. And it's all about you ultimately holding energy for them to transform and to have that, whatever experience it is that you're providing. So we need that. We need a sales strategy. Again, doesn't need to be fancy, but you do need a sales strategy. Are you selling on webinars? Are you selling one-to-one calls? Are you selling in DMs? Are you selling at live events? What does that look like? What's that sales strategy going to be? B2B, B2C, et cetera. We need a marketing strategy. Again, doesn't need to be an 18-step funnel that's super complex with tripwires and all of that. But we need some sort of a marketing strategy. What's your top of funnel going to be? So where are your people at the very top? What's your middle of funnel going to be? How are we converting them and taking them to the next step? And then of course, what's the bottom of the funnel, which is going to be more about delivery, client experience. What do we do with people who don't convert, et cetera? So we need those things. We need also a time and a schedule strategy to deliver the services in a way that aligns with your life. What I mean by that is not everyone, but a lot of the members of the community who we serve in our group programs, like our 10K club and 50K club, they are either mamas, parents, maybe they're working a corporate job and they're building something on the side. Or again, they're like, I don't want to grind just because it's what I've been conditioned to do. I want to get big results, take powerful action, get where I want to go, right? But I don't want to just be checking the box, taking mechanical action, because I have more life I want to live than just that. So we want to think about, based on your time, your family, your commitments. Are you a mom launching something on the side and you have 5 to 10 hours a week to devote to something while your little sleep, or is it more? Is it less? I don't know. But we want to find a way for this to fit within your life, and to be able to make whatever adjustments may need to be made so that you can fulfill on your most important commitments and priorities for you, while being as impactful as possible when you're taking actions in your business as well. And then basic technology, right? Basic technology. Again, we've launched, and I've always been scrappy. The team and I, I don't want to say it. I am not like a tech whiz on the fanciest funnels, the fanciest automation software, all that. No, that's also not part of my calling. I really love a personal touch. I love, how can we make things as human as possible? And that's just more of how I'm wired. There's other great marketing minds out there who are far more complex and would whip up a 20-step funnel in a couple hours or days and present it to you. And that's how their mind works. And that's beautiful. That's just not me. And so when I'm working with clients and in my own business, I tend to be as simple as possible when it comes to the technology, and always getting clear on what's the strategy first, then reverse engineering into what technology is needed for recording calls, marketing, delivery of services? Are you going to have an LMS, a learning management system for your people? Where are you recording things? All of that, right? So basics, but we want to always get clear on what's the strategy first. And then from there, we can reverse engineer to decide what technology is needed. This is where we can again, not waste, but this is where we can maybe flow without the highest level of intention, money, resources, energy, um, because we just don't actually know what we need. And so that's why I love leading with strategy first and then building in the technology to help support it. Things you don't need. Perfectionism. You don't need to have things perfect. Perfectionism keeps you poor, my friend. You don't need a big audience. You don't need complex marketing or funnels. I think we've driven that home today. You don't need an expensive website. You don't even need frankly, a website at all often, right? Not always. Sometimes you might, but again, we launched and we did multi six figures in the 10K club before we ever had a nice site, ever. The company that I helped launch prior to this, Brand Builders Group, incredible company. We did multi seven in the first year without a website. It was human connections. It was relationships. It was JV. So you do not need those things to be successful. And a lot of times they can be distractions and diversions from what would actually move the needle for you, right? And we can go into avoidance of making reach outs or offering a program because we're like, well, if I just need it all perfect first, right? And look at what are you hiding behind? Are you hiding behind any of that? You do not need to have written a book, be a top thought leader in your space. You don't need a million certifications or degrees. You don't need a full-time schedule or availability. I run my company right now part-time. And I've done it that way the whole time because I have had a little kid and now two little kids the whole time. And I care about being home. I care about being present. I care about being with my babies as much as possible. The big thing, you do not need permission from anyone else. This is actually the theme of the book that I co-authored with some of my clients, some amazing women, last year, and we released it in January. The book is called Permission to Be Powerful. And the whole idea is you are the only one who can give you permission to go for what you want and to say, oh, now it's time, right? And to give yourself permission to go. And you don't have to wait. That's the biggest thing. You don't have to wait. So hopefully those things help you clarify what do you need versus what do you not need to help you get to where you want to go. And again, there's a lot more to it, but those are the highlights. Now, where do we go from here? I wanted to share today 2 ways you can go deeper in this if you would like to, and if you would like the support of the team and myself in implementing this to get you the results you want. First thing, this whole training that we hosted a couple of weeks ago announced for the first time a 1-day strategy intensive that we're hosting. So if you're listening in real time, great. If not, go check out the website and see. We may or may not have another one. I don't know. We're doing this first one the first time, and I don't know what and when we'll do it again. But check either way. We are hosting though on May 17th. So 2024, May 17th, if you're listening to this in real time, it's a Friday, a 1-day live strategy intensive called 100K in a day. You can go to elisearcher.com/100K in a day to get registered. Normally, a full day private strategy intensive with me is $15,000. We are offering this at less than 10% of that investment because it's going to be in a group, but it is going to be incredibly focused, incredibly potent. I'm thinking of it kind of like an espresso shot for your business or for your sales, where we go in and we get clarity on the things that matter for you. It's everything that matters and nothing that doesn't, right? So product, service, positioning, packages. If you already have all of those things, we're going to dial them in and tighten them up and look at how you can be more elevated and strategic and intentional with what you're doing. So maybe you want to raise your prices. Maybe you want to work with a higher level client. So we're going to come in and make sure that all of that is positioned at its highest level possible. We're going to clarify the exact target client who you're speaking to. So avatar, who are they? Pain points, what do they need? How are you going to speak to them, speak to their heart, get them to take action, your positioning and credibility as well. We're also mapping out your sales strategy, your most aligned sales strategy, and cutting through the fluff, forget what everyone else is doing, what works for you, and then your marketing strategy. So again, we can get caught up on the marketing front. Do I need to do a podcast, a YouTube channel, Instagram, LinkedIn, blogs, this, that, speaking? We don't know, right? Any and all of it can work, but we're going to figure out for you, for your goals, for your financial goals, for how much time you have available, for where your people are, for what you're looking to do, what's the right strategy for you. So think about it again. If you could leave one day with a completely clear roadmap on the strategy for you that is going to help you accomplish your goals in your sales and in your business this year, so that you can go have experiences like what I shared that Thursday afternoon, 2 p.m. with my babies, receiving money, not actively working for it at the time. What would that be like for you? And what would it be like for you to finally have that clarity, that peace of mind, so that when you do sit down to work, you know that what you're doing makes an impact. You know that what you're doing is moving the needle. You're not just checking the box. You're actually literally getting traction and results from what you're doing every day. So again, that's elisearcher.com/100K in a day. You can go get registered for that now. There's no $ in front of the 100K in a day. It's just 100K in a day. So that's one. That's May 17th. It's a full day strategy intensive. And I'd love for you to get registered and come join us if it's resonating. The second opportunity, which is going to be far more on the energy standpoint, completely different, but these are focusing on 2 of the 4 quadrants of quantum sales growth. So the first one, 100K in a day, is about method. It's the strategy. This other one is about money, which is the second quadrant of quantum sales growth. We are having a live event in person coming up here in Portland, Maine, July 17th and 18th. I'm 99% sure on those dates. I'll link the page here so that you can go double. As I'm saying it out loud, I don't have the page pulled up in front of me. I think it's July 17th and 18th here in Portland, called Money Live. It is going to be a 2-day live workshop where I'm going to be working with you and every other attendee. My team will be there too, supporting you in elevating your wealth consciousness, your financial frequency. This is going to be much more the energetics of achieving your income, your revenue target versus the strategy, although that will unfold naturally from the work you do here. But you heard me mention earlier in the podcast, we all have a financial set point. This is going to be about how do you elevate and raise that financial set point? How do you open up to receive more easily, release limiting beliefs, blocks, old stories that you've told yourself about money, get out of resistance about money, really get into a beautiful energy with it where it flows and it works for you, where it is the servant and you are the master versus the opposite paradigm, which we often have, which is that we feel like money is the master and we can't move forward on things or take action on things because money's ruling and controlling us. And when we're in that energy, we're putting money in the wrong spot in our lives. So you can go check that one out. That's elisearcher.com/money mindset live. If you want to come join live here in Portland, Maine in July, we've got early bird tickets on sale through the end of May, where you can save about $1,000 on a ticket. After that, the rates go up pretty significantly. But so those are 2 places that we can go from here. Very different. You can take advantage of one or both. They're both going to get you very different but complementary results. So elisearcher.com/100K in a day. That's going to be the 1-day virtual strategy intensive coming up May 17th. And then elisearcher.com/money mindset live. If you would like to come spend 2 days live here in Maine with me and the team and a really badass, cool group of entrepreneurs and sales leaders who are elevating and shifting their wealth consciousness, then you can check that one out and get registered for that at the early bird rates through the end of the month. Thank you, as always, for being a listener of the podcast. I appreciate you. I want your feedback. Like I said at the beginning, would you like a sales tip in these episodes? Is there anything else that we're not doing or covering right now that you feel like would be supportive to you? I'd love to hear from you. Grateful, as always, for you. Thank you for being a listener to She Sells Radio, and I'll see you